Am I live?
Yes.
Am I live?
Yes. You're ridiculous.
Am I live now? Am I on the air?
Yes.
Hey everybody, Ron here. I've been messing with Jules all day. She's about ready to kill me.
Not even close.
Oh boy, I hope everyone's having a good Thursday. We're going to do something a little different today. As always, Jules is here, which
Hey, what's up?
you might have gathered already. And if you have any questions or comments, just speak your mind in the comment section and we will answer them in real time. I am working on something a little bit different today. As some of you know who watch my videos, I'm pretty into Gundam as well. And I like to build Gundams and paint them up really well and weather them and get them all nice and grimy and, put some LEDs in them and have some cool effects here. So that's what I'm doing here. And the model kit that I'm working on is the real grade version of the Z'Gok, which was from Classic Gundam. It was Char Aznavour's Z'Gok specifically. They don't make a real grade version of the generic one, which was kind of bluish colored. They only make a real grade one of the red one. Unless P. Bandai makes the blue one, and I wasn't aware of it.
Gunther says, it looks great already, and says, howdy.
Okay, thanks, man. Thank you. So this kit, the real grade scale kits are a hell of a lot more complicated than the HG scale kits, and they can be in varying degrees. Some of them can be insanely complicated. Some of them can be kind of like medium, but still kind of nuts complicated. That's where this one falls into. It's way more complicated than an HG scale, which is the same size kit, just less pieces. A lot of the Gundams they make in the more popular suits they'll make in real grade, but they make just about everything in high grade. And high grade for Gundam is actually technically the lowest grade. Even though it's called high grade, it's still the lowest grade of Gundam.
Gunther says he really needs to get back into building Gundam models.
Yeah, they're fun. They are fun. So for this guy, for this suit, it popped up again. It was in Classic Gundam, but it popped up again in Gundam Unicorn in one episode. And it was only in the episode for maybe like 2 minutes at most. It wasn't even like a big scene. But it was pretty cool because they took like the classic chassis and kind of repainted everything. And made it like more like greens and tans and yellows and stuff like that. So that's what I've been doing here. One of the things I do when I do that is sometimes I'll just spray paint right on the sprue. Like all these pieces were gray, and I spray painted them this desert yellow color because that's what they're supposed to be on the repainted version of it. Certain things like armor sections, like you could see it's red on the inside, but it's green on the outside now because I sprayed it. One of the things I'm going to say is if you do spray Gundams, especially if you spray them on the sprue, when you clip them off, you might have a little bit of bare plastic still. I prefer to buy a color match equivalent of whatever spray paint I'm using in brush form. Or alternatively, you could airbrush the sprues with the same paint instead of trying to color match the spray paint and stuff. I find the spray paint to be a little bit more durable, kind of lasts a little longer. Especially because Gundams are kind of more moved and fiddled with and touched. Like, for instance, this German dark yellow, even though it doesn't really look it because it's in the bottle right now, is actually a color match to this. The bottle kind of makes it not look like it's an exact match, but it is. So I got bottle versions of every one of these colors too. So you can see there's a couple little chips already for me, like kind of manhandling this. So all that I can kind of just like touch up with the paintbrush and fix those edges. Once it's clear coated, it'll be fine. And the painting doesn't really mess up the articulation, thankfully. It might make some joints a little bit tighter, but overall it doesn't really mess anything up. Now, here's another really awesome thing with high grades for the people that aren't familiar with it. This is one piece. This comes off the sprue in one piece like this. Hey, did you ever see this?
Hey, so Amori is asking, so I just started wiring up RGB in my kids' PCs. Do you think you can hook those LEDs into PC controlled colors and then stick the Gundam inside a gaming PC?
Yeah, just as long as the resistors are right. Like, if you're using regular LEDs that are like, well, this is a 3-volt LED, which is what most LEDs are standard before you add resistors to them. So as long as your power source for the LEDs is 3-volt, you're good. If it's not 3-volt, just make sure you have the right resistors. So if you, and there's all these calculators online where you could calculate the amount of resistance that you need. And resistors are cheap. I mean, I have resistors everywhere, literally everywhere. I got like packs of them just hanging around. And like this pack this pack right here would convert a 9.1 to 14.4 volt DC power source down to a 3-volt power source. And this one would convert a 3.5 to 5 volt power source down to a 3-volt power source. So you just got to make sure you have the right resistors on it so you don't fry the LEDs. But otherwise, yeah, definitely. You definitely could do that. In what I'm doing today, I don't need resistors at all because I'm actually going to hide batteries in this Gundam, even though he's really, really small. And I bought these really tiny hearing aid batteries. They're 1.5 volt each. Actually, 1.45 volt. It's not enough to make a difference. And if I wire 2 of these little containers here, so cute. If I wire 2 of these together, I'll be able to run the light for the eyeball off of it. So let me take the little tab off of that.
Austin's replying to the previous comment. And he says, you could, but you wouldn't be able to get the color change effect. You would be able to turn them on and off, etc. For how she wants to.
You can buy color change LEDs, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what he's saying. I know what he's trying to accomplish there, but you can buy color change LEDs. Oh my god, I gotta get this thing right here. First of all, scrape these down to get them nice and exposed.
So how many times have you like electrocuted yourself in your life from playing with, zappy stuff?
Well, with batteries, it's not even enough to really electrocute yourself.
I was kind of only half. I'm just kind of joking there.
But I have set a few things on fire and have electrocuted myself probably at least 4 times in my life.
Ooh, that could make the live stream exciting.
I'm not doing anything that I can electrocute myself with you right now.
Maury says, inspiring. I gotta up my LED game.
Alright, let me... Yeah, it's fun stuff. Definitely fun stuff. Why am I not getting anything from here? Interesting. Maybe these don't have enough juice in them? Maybe I need to switch to a different battery?
More power.
I might need to switch to a different battery. That's okay. If I have to, I just kind of thought these would have enough juice. I've done this before with tiny little lights. I'm just wondering, maybe this particular one is a 3.5 volts. That's alright. Well, I can figure it out with this one. There's plenty of space to hide batteries in Gundams, so I might not use these little tiny ones.
What is the smallest model you've ever put lights in?
Good question. Probably like a 40K figure. They're pretty tiny. Like when I put lights in Typhus or something like that, that's pretty small. I have gotten lights into like just the head of an incredibly tiny Gundam figure, so that was pretty tiny too. Let's get this guy opened back up again. Figure out where I can hide some batteries in him. There we go. He's a little bit tight because of the paint. There it is. There we go. All right. So he has a lot of open area right around here where I could hide something. Usually when you do that, when you're hiding batteries in a Gundam, the only thing you have to do is really just kind of like make sure that you don't mess up any articulation. So see, like a whole battery could fit behind his back here. If I just... Also, you're probably going to have to cut off a couple like connector pegs, which means that it'll, you might need to like lose some things or something like that. So that's not that hard. Part of the fun is figuring it out, really. So this piece doesn't need, I could cut out all of this right here and effectively hide the battery in that. So I can, the head mounts onto there, and that piece connects into the top dome. So I could make it so that this whole dome pretty much pops up, and then the battery would slide right into there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Oh, one thing I wanted to show you guys real quick. This is one of the biggest, most awesome things I want to show YouTube at HG models. They come with pieces on the sprue, like this, but already articulated. Look.
Yeah, you showed me that before.
Isn't that nuts,
awesome.
though?
It's
like,
insane.
It's insane. Like, there's a ball joint here. There's 3 joints here. This is like the crazy knee joint. And this, I believe, is where the foot connects. And here's the ankle. There's like 8 points of articulation on this piece, cast right onto the sprue already like that. It's nuts. It's just nuts how they're able to fit all that in there.
That's got to be like $100,000 piece of equipment.
Bandai has the best injection molding machines in the world.
Yeah.
Hands down. When you see like a picture of Bandai's like factory floor, it's just freaking $100,000 injection molded machines forever.
Do you cream your pants?
A little bit, honestly. It's pretty nuts how much they got going on in there. It's just crazy. All right, so we're gonna start modifying some pieces here. This piece connects to the bottom here via these 2 pegs and these 2 top things. The 2 top things are kind of superfluous. When I start doing this type of modification, you might need to, maybe use a little bit of glue to hold a piece on as opposed to being snap only. But the trade-off is worth it because then you can hide shit in it, like batteries and stuff. Just kind of hollows out the area a bit more. See, that just opened that whole area up. There we go. Get on there. Get in there. There it is. When you paint Gundams, which I paint all my good Gundams, I have some Gundams that I just build with like my son that aren't necessarily painted because they're just kind of, ones to play with. All the good ones that I paint, where the hell was I going with this? I lost it. I'm sorry.
So you can either play with the toys or paint them. Does that help?
I can either play or paint the toys, yes. And
Okay.
the ones that I paint tend to have a little bit more rigidity. You're not able to like necessarily pose them as much, but you're still able to pose them. It doesn't completely eliminate that. And it's fine. It really depends on if you're treating your Gundam kits like models or if you're treating them more like toys. And it also depends on what you're comfortable with, because some people just aren't comfortable with painting Gundams for some reason. And I think it's a travesty because most Gundams look like 100 times better if you just slap a coat of paint on them.
Or weather them up too.
Huh?
Or weather them up.
Or weather them up, or like put decals on them as opposed to the stickers. All that type of stuff really makes them shine. I know this looks brutal, but it's not. I'm just cutting a big area away that I don't need so I can make a space for the battery. I will be working on this guy in next week's video as well. I'm going to get all the wiring done today. And then between now and next week, I'm going to get him built. And then I was going to do weathering and washes and battle damage and stuff like that on him next week. So I can show you fine folks how I do that. Oh, there we go. See? Look at all that open space. Yeah. I just need to hollow out that neck a little bit more. I wonder if I could even fit a battery holder in here. Let's see. If I drill all the way down, he doesn't move. Thankfully, this figure does not move like that. At least not in the upper torso area. He just kind of does a little side-to-side wiggle. So I can probably fit this whole battery board in here. And then just have a little switch. So all I'd have to do is pop the head off and just flip the switch. I think that's what I'm going to try to fit in here if I can. Don't really need these bottom two pieces of the wafer. And the battery terminates about here. I could actually probably clip off these bottom parts of the wafer to make it fit a little bit more. Every Gundam model is different, and there's definitely a certain amount of trial and error involved in this. Like the fact that I'm going to have to clip these pieces away to fit the wafer. The back is definitely going to have to be held on with a little bit of glue at this point, but that's okay. There we go. Now, if I can just dig down this piece right here and free up about a couple more millimeters, I am golden. I know some of you people are looking at this like, oh my god, what is he doing to this model? There we go, look, I just opened up a giant chunk of space.
It's going to look good, though, when it's done.
Oh, it will. There we go. So that got down a little bit further, and then all right, so here's the thing. Wafers you can cut sometimes. You just got to make sure you don't cut any of the wiring. So here you can see where the metal wiring is. So there's a positive, negative, positive, negative. Actually, you might not be able to do that. I might only be able to cut maybe just the tip of that off. I'd still have to leave some of that metal exposed right there in order to be able to make a connection. Let's try to fit this on here. Backpack. This big back piece. And
A couple of people just joined us. Hi Sam, hi Daniel. If you're just checking in now, we are doing LED lighting today on this Gundam.
Oh, there we go. Fits so much better sideways. Never even thought that. Well, why are you laughing at me? Jules has been laughing at me for like 4 days. She just keeps laughing at me for everything.
No, I was being juvenile.
Oh, I get where you were going. Alright, so let's get this top piece on. Maybe it doesn't fit better sideways. What is obstructing this? It's not the wafer. Something is not letting this... What is blocking this?
The quiet of concentration. Yes. Definitely.
Maybe these parts are blocking it. Maybe I have to put these in afterwards. Oh yeah, that was it. Who's quietly concentrating?
You are. That's what Amori just said.
I'm talking. There we go. That all fits. All right. It was these pieces. They have to go in afterwards, apparently. Okay. So all that can fit in there. And then, honestly, I don't even know if I need this back piece. I might be able to get away with just not using this back piece at all. This fits on just fine. You can't even really see in there. The head. Yeah, I'm not going to use the back piece. That's fine. Cool. So what I'll end up doing is I'll probably, in fact, what I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to modify this eye mount a little bit. I'm going to do my standard, making it look out one side so it looks like it's glaring at someone. And I'll put a magnet in there. And then I'll put a magnet in here. And then the whole top will just be able to pop off with the magnet. And then there's a little switch right back there. I'm not going to glue any of the armor panels on so that when I eventually have to change the battery, because if I'm only using one of these LEDs with the battery, that battery will last quite some time. But I do want to make sure that these panels can pop off for when I eventually have to change it. So I don't need to glue any of these sections right here. This doesn't need to be glued on. That can just pop off. And I don't need to glue these little front guys. In fact, the only piece that I probably will glue, now that I'm looking at it, because these two pieces hold this in place pretty well. The only piece that I probably will glue is the little waist piece that goes like in the back here, because there's no pegs to hold it on anymore. And I'll probably, well, I could still glue this whole back panel on here, because I can pop it out here. So I won't glue this top piece on, and I won't glue the little doodads that go in the front there. I don't know what they're called. Vents.
Doodads, I like that.
The doodads. The vents. Alright, so let me solder this LED to this battery clip real quick. That'll take like a minute. Fire up the soldering iron. Let me get my 300-year-old can of flux. Oh my god, it's got like wire bits in it. It's so terrible. There's like wire bits in it. It's that old. I've had this can of flux for 30 years. No lie.
You're showing your age there.
I think I got it when I was 10. I'm pretty sure I got this can of flux when I was 10. Because I was doing a lot of LED wiring when I was a kid and burning everything and setting stuff on fire, and I didn't have any idea what the hell I was doing, but I wanted to really light up a Klingon bird of prey.
You know, they just don't make kids like they used to. Us
really
children of the 80s were left highly unsupervised and were left to like solder things, burn stuff down.
That's what my mom did. She just gave me a soldering iron and an X-Acto knife, and she was like, just, you know, if you get hurt, just come see me. That was the answer.
Well, your mom's really nice. Mine was like, walk it off.
Yeah.
Like, there was that comedian, like, who made the joke, I died once, and my mom just said, walk it off.
Yeah. Alright, so with these micro LED things, there's my tweezers. Tweezers for a second. I like to kind of wrap the wire through the holes a little bit, because it like make a knot out of the wire, because I feel that, especially with a model where it's getting jostled and stuff, you don't want to put too much stress on the solder connection. So if you can do that, all the better. But it is not going to work until you solder it, because these wires are actually coated with a thin enamel, and that prevents them from shorting out when they touch each other. But as soon as you drop like a glob of solder on there, it melts the enamel into the metal and everything, and then it makes the connection.
Arthur is just checking in with us now, says hi.
Hey Arthur, how's it going?
And if you're just joining us, we are doing LED lighting today on this Gundam Z'Gok.
Specifically the Z'Gok from Gundam Unicorn.
Yes.
Specifically. Where's my stuff? There it is. And then next week I'll be doing weathering and battle damage and all that stuff on the Z'Gok. I want to make him look like he's been well, he's a submersible Z'Gok, so he's supposed to be hiding out underwater. And at the time of the series, when the Z'Gok comes out of the water, he would have already been underwater for a couple years, like kind of waiting for an opportunity. So I want to do some good like streaks with some oil washes, and do some maybe a tiny amount of corrosion, not an excessive amount. There we go. These like lily pad battery holders that I sell with the micro LED kits are very easy to. What the hell is that? It's like a blob of stuff. They're very easy to wire together. You just basically got to get a glob of wet solder in the little ports here, and you're good to go. My hands are sticky from solder. There we go. I'm fine. Let me get a fresh battery. I feel like this one's a little chopped up or something. It's got a big scratch on it. I always have these batteries floating around.
Charlie Crumpton and Joe Johnson are just checking in with us now.
Hey guys.
Arthur says, really nice and easy.
Maybe this solder over here.
Hi Nigel, thanks for watching.
This is definitely the weak spot, this connection right here.
If you're just tuning in now, Ron is playing with a soldering iron and we're waiting to see if he burns himself.
Yes. There we go. Not today, Satan. I saw this meme about how Satan's been canceled on so many times that he's starting to feel self-conscious about it. Because people are like, not today, Satan, all the time, and it's like, Satan's like, you've consistently canceled on me.
It's like cancel culture.
Cancel culture. Jesus. So, these wires, now like I said, these wires are enamel coated, so you don't need to worry about them shorting anything out, thankfully. This will just kind of hang out in there. And then what I need to do is mount that right on the front there where the actual lens would be. These particular LEDs have a flat side on the back of them, which is pretty handy for gluing and things like that. Get out some zip kicker and some super glue. There's my new bottle of super glue. See, I don't know how well you can see this in the video, but there's a round side and there's a flat side on the back. So I'm putting a glob on the flat side.
And those lily pads, they will fit under a small base for like a 40K figure.
40 millimeter and above.
Yeah.
The zip kicker pretty much immediately solidifies the super glue. So that connection was pretty easy. I like to give it a minute though to kind of settle in. Bend the wires underneath a bit, and the wires can be completely hidden that way. Now, when I attach this to the head, there's two things I want to do. One thing, I want to make it tilted so it looks like he's kind of looking out the side, like doing like a glare, like a leer, I mean. And the other thing that I want to do In order to do that, I need to cut the back of it just a little bit flat so that it makes room for the top edge of the battery clip. The only reason it's shaped, the only reason the light's going out is because the battery's kind of shaking around in it. Once I get this all glued in place, I'm going to do that. All this stuff you won't see when the helmet's on. So you don't even really need to worry about it. Not unless you got some like Gundam snob that's like putting his face like 2 centimeters away from the helmet. Will you ever see anything that you need to worry about? Okay. So that piece would fit in like so. Just hide that extra wiring down in there, and then just glue the head on. The head won't be able to move anymore, but like I said, I'm making this more of a display piece than anything, so I'm not really terribly concerned about that. There's always a certain amount of sacrifice when you're trying to modify these types of models, but the payoff is usually well worth it. Those eyeballs on.
How long do those batteries last for roughly? Or is it like your mileage kind of varies?
Your mileage varies, but because this is only one LED, it'll last for a while. I have put LEDs in Gundam eyeballs, like just singular LEDs like this in a Gundam eyeball, and it has lasted for at least a week, continuous.
Oh, continuous, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you're just turning it on and off here and there to be like, check out how cool this is, you're good. That thing's going to last a while. But I'm still not gluing certain parts on so I can get in there and swap that battery out when I need to.
How cumbersome is it to like swap the battery out?
It's not going to be cumbersome at all. I'll show you momentarily. I'm just cleaning up the edges of this one piece that I'm going to have to glue on for the bottom back. It's one of the pieces that needed a little bit of modification. Okay. Trash. Pop this piece off here. I'm going to glue the one bottom piece in, and then I'm going to glue the back piece on, and then we're pretty golden. If I can just get in here and actually get this piece open. There we go. So this piece, I just need to put like a dab of glue to hold that on there. So that piece is on. This guy. I might not even do that. I don't know. Might not be necessary. So as far as changing the battery goes, I basically have to pop the top piece off and just pull this out and change the battery.
Cool.
And put it right back in. So it wouldn't be hard. But there is going to be a secondary thing where I have the magnet in the head, so I can pop the head plate off so I can access the switch easier.
Ryan Cardillo says, neat. Yeah, they are pretty cool when they're all lit up like that, you know.
Something just happened. When I put that piece on, it created a short somewhere. Let me move these wires out of the way so nothing's touching. Something touched somewhere that shouldn't have touched and created a short. That happens sometimes too, so you just gotta problem solve that when it happens and find out where it is. Oh, see, it's doing it again. What is it touching? What is happening? Is it in the eyeball?
So what would you say the skill level is involved for like someone who's just, you know, starting to use LED lighting in their models? Is it relatively easy to get into, or?
I would say it's relatively easy. Oh, is this thing wiggling too much? Oh, yeah, that's where the short is. Figured it out. I just gotta add a little bit. The solder just wasn't good enough in that one spot.
Hey, Andrew. Andrew Cook says, loose wire, watch your clearances. Yeah.
Yeah, it was loose wire right there. So I'm gonna fix that right now. Yeah, this is where the short is, this loose wire right here. So that'll be fixed with just a glob of super glue. While I'm doing that, I guess I'll...
So funny story about loose wires. we had a ceiling fan that was in the living room, and apparently whoever installed it in the house, they decided in their infinite wisdom not to use the wire nuts and stuff and just kind of taped things off. And so what happened was the wires ended up touching and doing things that they weren't supposed to do. And the ceiling fan started like wobbling, like so Ron's standing in the living room and like the metal, like the fan was wobbling so much that the metal arm on one of the fan blades snapped.
It wasn't. It was plastic.
Oh, that was plastic?
Yeah, it was junk. We had to get that replaced. It was just...
Well, anyway, the plastic on the arm snapped, and then the blade just went flying and hit him in the chest and went, ugh!
Yeah, the house tried to kill me.
It's funny. From a loose wire. And then it knocked out all the power on the second floor.
Yeah, that was a fire hazard.
But luckily, we haven't burned anything down yet.
Much better. Much better. Some magnets, which we'll need in a minute for attaching the headpiece. Punch that down in there. There we go. So now the switch is right behind the head. There we go. All right, he's nice and leering, and there we go. That piece will be able to just go right on top. Well, there we go. That's the right way. So that's what he'll look like when he's all leering out. What time do we have?
It is 3:17.
All right, perfect timing. Because I am about a few minutes away from being done with this modification. Then,
Tom McKenna is just checking in with us now. Hey, Tom. And if you're joining us at the end of the video, you can always go back and rewatch how he installs the micro LED in this Gundam Z'Gok.
Z'Gok. Just cutting a little room. There's already like a spot that's perfect for a battery in here. I'm just kind of cutting some room open for it. And then 2 of these will fit in the bottom. So I'll glob 2 on in the bottom with a thing of super glue, and then...
Hey, Gil. Gil Mondragon's checking in with us.
Hey, Gil.
The lights. Yeah.
Love the lights.
Lighting is one of your more fun things to do. You do a lot of videos on lighting.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Plus, there's also like a ton of tutorial videos out there about painting and other things like that. Not a lot of people cover lighting and things like that. So I like covering some of the stuff that other people don't cover. Ah, snappy. All right, so I gotta get this head on there. I might actually need 2 just for the height. Let's see. Two's a little too tall. Might need to put a little piece of... No, actually, I think I could get away with that. Okay. Now, the way that I like to do this is I coat the top of the magnet with some accelerator, and I prefer to use Gorilla Glue gel because it's just a little bit more... It stays in place a little bit better. And then just kind of smash the 2 on and let them sit for about 30 seconds, and hopefully they'll connect. It's not the most well-practiced or professional method, but it works.
I really like playing with accelerator. Makes it go so much faster.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about accelerator is when it gets on your skin. Because it can burn a hole in your skin.
Yeah, I've done that.
Oh man, it was almost there. It just didn't... I pulled it off too early. So another funny news, Jules and I have decided to go vegan. So let the jokes flow. Let the jokes flow.
Andrew Cook says, "Is this the MG or the RG?"
RG.
Coincidentally, I have both of them unbuilt.
Oh, it's the RG. The MG version is so easy. It's like it's like maybe 60 pieces. The RG is so much more. There we go.
He says, "Cool."
Now that there it is. So the head is just magnetized on. So when I want to get to the little switch back here, there's the switch. See? It's off and on. Boom.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I can pop the head right back on. Why is it's on sideways? There we go. So that's easy to access the switch. And then if I need to change the battery out, I just have to take this top piece off, and then I can get to the whole battery in there.
Andrew says, "Snap. Well done."
I love that snap. I love that magnet snap. There it is. So yeah, once I build the arms and legs and all that stuff, you can see I already have some feet over here. Here's the like claws, the Z'Gok claws. Here's some of the tanks that go in the back. So yeah, I just need to kind of build out the rest of them, but the core's done. There's also actually a tiny little cockpit in here. If I can get this door to open up, it was a little fussy earlier.
Andrew says, "Yeah, dig the paint scheme."
It's the unicorn paint scheme. I can't get the door open in the front. It's the Gundam unicorn version of the Z'Gok, so it's a little bit more military looking and not like bright blue or bright red.
Andrew says, "Very nice jungle colorway."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I want to rewatch?
Mm.
I really want to rewatch Evangelion. I don't know.
I started watching Evangelion with Oscar.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Like a couple weeks ago, we
Did
started.
he like it?
Yeah, he's into it.
Awesome. Andrew says, "Well, that yellow green is nice."
This is, this is like a German yellow green that I really like. These pieces were, well, you can't really see because I sprayed both sides of the sprue, but the pieces were gray before. But in the repaint, these pieces are yellow green, and I did a quick spray of gunmetal on some of these other pieces just to enhance the metallic look of them a little bit. But anyway, so that's the video for today, guys and gals. And next week, I am going to have this guy built up, and I will do. He's only going to get a few decals. He might get like, I don't know, a handful of decals. I'll do all the decaling and stuff like that before next week's video. And then when we get to next week's video, I'm going to do oil washes and weathering and adding some like battle damage and stuff like that to them. And making them look pretty grody. And I might even like make a little base for him. I'm not sure yet. I might do that.
And if you're just checking in, there's a couple people checking in at the end here. We're going to sign off, but you can feel free to watch from the beginning. And if you have any questions, we do check back comments later on.
Yeah.
And yeah, Amori says, "Yeah, I just flipped back to the video and was like, oh, wow, that's amazing airbrush technique." And then I remembered you're doing LEDs. Yeah, we have other videos too on different techniques as well.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you're really into Gundams, a month ago when we were doing Winter Hobby Fest, I did 3 videos where I was working on an oversized Gundam. And he was, I believe, 1/48 scale. He was massive. So if you are interested in that, you can check that out as well. But anyway, so have a good one, folks, and we will see you next Thursday. Later.